Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jimmy Rex Show. Today I'm sitting here with Kyle Van Noy. Kyle, good to be here with you, man.
Thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate it and happy to be on.
So Kyle and I go way back. We were roommates for a little bit your senior year at BYU, and you've lived all over the place since then. We're out here in California right now. You just moved out here for the off season.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's actually been cold. I feel like I brought the Boston cold here. It sucks, but it works.
That's good, man. Well, you grew up in Reno. I kind of wanted, before we dive into, obviously you guys just got done with your second Super Bowl that you were involved with. Didn't go exactly how we were hoping, but you know, you still got the other one, I guess. But I want to kind of back up a little bit because the audience really is about half the people that listen to this show are from Utah. And you spent some time out there at BYU, and tell us a little bit about your journey, how you kind of got to BYU, and then I'm going to ask you some questions as part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer that question all in like one sentence, just because.
Well, tell us a story, a little bit of how you ended up at BYU. Like, why did you choose BYU, and really dive into that a little bit.
So, getting to BYU was different and difficult, and a lot of, I would say, luck for BYU. I would give all the credit to my mother. She's the best recruiter. She didn't really recruit anything. She kind of demanded. So I was getting a lot of offers my junior year, and then my senior year was pretty crazy in high school. And we ended up going to, I went to Utah when I was really young, when I was 6, but I never been back. And I went to like an unofficial visit or whatever in the summer, and I wasn't really feeling it. It was okay, like it was different. And in that time, my mindset was a little bit different. I was a crazy wild animal child. I loved partying and yeah, doing all that sorts of stuff. And you know, my mom always said, don't ever forget about BYU or whatever. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then come my senior year or whatever, things weren't clicking in my life. Like I wasn't happy where I was, and you know, I was making dumb choices that led to me getting in trouble and getting arrested a couple times. And on signing day, my mom finally stuck a piece of paper in front of me eating cereal. I'll never forget it. I don't remember what cereal I was getting, but it was right in the morning, and it was on signing day. And to me, it was kind of funny because I look at signing day, and you have all these kids that put on hats, and you know, I remember making fun of Jake and Ross for doing their stupid little video thing in front of everybody to show where they were going or whatever. And you had me with my mom putting a piece of paper and say, sign right here. And I'm like, what's this, you know? She's like, you're going to BYU. And I was like, are you for real? And she's like, yeah. So sure enough, I signed my piece of paper, and that's how I went to BYU, because I didn't really care about football at that time. So
that's crazy. Well, I remembered shortly, and I hope you're okay if I go here a little bit, but right after signing, your DUI came out. And tell us a little bit how that affected you and how you the process of that.
Man, that sucked. Not playing football. I mean, I got recruited by all sorts of schools after that. I know Washington was really heavy, and Oregon State. I ended up moving to Washington for a little bit and ended up living with Jake at his house because I was working for a guy up there running camps all summer and making money. So I wouldn't be living off my parents or, you know, doing anything I wasn't supposed to do in a place where I didn't know anyone. So it was kind of nice for me to get a refresher, and then ended up going back to Nevada after that to enroll into TMCC Community College. I took some credits. I got A's, so I felt good about myself, because at Brigham I didn't do very well.
Dude, it's hard. I watched how hard people have to study at BYU. That's why I went to UVU, man. I wasn't able to study that hard. I give props to people that go to those schools.
I knew every time I walked in class I was the dumbest kid in the class. And then I walked in and I would see, you know, a Polly friend or Ross next to me, and I knew I was actually not the dumbest anymore.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. And so, when you got to BYU, tell us a little bit, because I know your background isn't necessarily, like in Utah, we're not that diverse. Let's just call it what it is. How did that affect you at BYU, or like what kind of struggles came because of that? Because I know that.
Yeah, I mean, lots of struggles. I hated it at BYU when I first got there. I mean, if you're at a certain age in Utah and you're not on a mission, you're looked at as a bad person, or all sorts of stuff. Girls don't like to talk to you if you're whatever, all sorts of stuff. So I kind of ignored all of that and just kind of focused on football, and football for me kind of sucked too. I'll never forget it. I almost transferred after my freshman year, after I sat out a whole year, and then for the first, I think, 3 games of the year, it wasn't very good. I remember Coach Howe was my coach, and I hated him, and to be honest, we still don't really connect. He's cool or whatever, and I'm happy that he has success, but I could kind of...
Yeah, he wasn't your guy.
Yeah, he's not my guy like Coach Papinga is.
Yeah.
And, you know, me and him didn't see it off, and I kind of told Bronco, like, look, like, I handled my business like a man. I've sat out a year. I've been patient. I've worked hard. I've done everything you've asked me to do. I've stayed out of trouble, and here I am. I know I'm better than a walk-on you put in front of me, and, you know, there were some injuries at the time, and I'm not playing. I was like, so I think it's time for me to go somewhere else. And he was like, just give me 1 more week. And I was like, what? Like, after I just said that, he said 1 more week. And so I was like, okay, whatever, you know. And I gave him 1 more week, and that happened to be the Utah State game. And I'll never forget, that was probably my funnest game ever, as even over San Diego State, because I'll never forget it. We got our ass whooped at Utah State. And me and Dre Galliai, we were freshmen at the time, and I never had more fun because I forget what coach his name was, but he ended up like getting fired after the game. He gave up on us in the game, and so we were getting whooped, and so all the freshmen and sophomores went in like the 3rd quarter or whatever, and we started like calling our own stuff, and like Dre's blitzing at safety and I'm dropping or whatever, and we were just making plays and
it's like
having
playing
fun.
in elementary school.
Exactly. And we know we were getting whooped, but we were talking trash like we were winning. But it was so fun. I'll never forget that. And then after that, Bronco took over, and I started every game since. Actually, there was one game, I'm a bit bitter about this. One game, sophomore year, I got benched, Utah State at home. First play of the game, Turpin runs a long touchdown on Jaden Wagner's side, who got the start in front of me, and I was like, that's what you guys get. And so one game besides that.
So as it developed at BYU, how did your relationship what was your relationship with Bronco from the beginning and the end and everything?
You know, I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with Bronco. I wish he was what he is now at BYU for sure. I think it would have changed a lot of people's mindsets about him. I felt like he felt pressured in a lot of ways to act a certain way.
What do you mean by that?
I feel like people up high in church have a little more pull than some people.
Yeah, he was trying to make it too much of a spiritual thing.
Yeah, and I think
because you guys butted heads a little bit.
For sure, yeah, I still butt heads with him. But at the end of the day, I think he's one of the best defensive coaches I've ever been around. I think he'd be a phenomenal defensive coordinator in the NFL because he doesn't have to talk to anyone. But you know, he's really smart and he loves the game of football, and I learned a lot from him.
Nice. Yeah.
Well,
and what about when Ziggy came on? Can you tell us a little bit about that story? Because you kind of, I remember when we were sitting at the house one time.
He owes me a lot of money right now. I'm sitting jealous. He just signed that big old franchise tag of like 18 million.
Yeah.
I was like, I should get a tithing.
Well, you basically taught
10%.
him how to put his pads on, how to play football, right? Like, tell us a little bit about how that happened when Ziggy came in.
Yeah, Zig, oh man, he's funny. He's actually, he calls it the motherland. He's in Ghana right now. Man, I'm so happy for him. he deserves every penny from what his family's been through, and his mom, such a good woman. So I'm glad he's taking care of her, and you know, he's doing really well. And meeting him, I'll never forget it. Like, who the hell is this big ass dude walking in here? And he was quiet. He didn't say much, and you know, next thing you know, we ended up like starting to talk or whatever, and he needed just help. Like, we were playing the same position, and I'll never forget it. The first day we had pads, he put them on like backwards. He put like his shoulder pads on backwards, like didn't know how to buckle his chin strap, or like put in his thigh pads and where his knee pads were. So it was like teaching like a little kid how to play football. It was wild. And then getting on the field, he used to take on blocks. Like, he, instead of like taking them with your fingers and hands up, he would turn his fingers down and try to scoop players out of the way, and it would he would get hit and like try to scoop him, and he would be in pain because he kept getting jammed all the time. I'm like, no, you got to turn your hands over. And you know, I think also too, what people don't realize, he is so effing smart. Like, this dude is crazy smart, and so he picked up the game so fast. And I can't believe I just said effing like TJ's Haws. Like, that's crazy. I was just thinking about that. Like, TJ Haws said shut the F up or whatever. And I thought that was hilarious. I think he's a good player, but hot damn, that's a bad look for Brigham.
Hey, speaking of that real quick while you say that, because I've had people like, oh, Kyle hates BYU. He only calls up Brigham. Yeah. Touch on that for a second.
I think people are sensitive and need to shut the hell up. That's what I really think. I got something good for them this year. They're going to get even more mad. I've always said it like that. I don't see why it's a problem. I'm not like...
Well, I know you. So I know you love BYU. Like, you're one of the biggest fans that we have for an alumni, you know.
I appreciate that.
Well, it's just funny because people are always like, oh, does Kyle hate BYU? And I'm like...
No, I don't have anything against BYU. Like,
it's just a cool way to say it. I actually like it. Make the school a little bit cooler.
Yeah, I saw that like a company started making sweatshirts about it now. Like, I think it's cool. Like, it's something different. Like, other schools have different nicknames, and I'm tired of hearing BYU. Like, it's kind of getting old. We need something new.
Yeah,
we need something new in the mix. So.
I like it. Well, and so
let me go back.
Yeah,
to Zig.
I was gonna say, let's get back to that.
So Zig, the first day of pads, I was playing special teams still, and he was kickoff. That's what he was, fast as hell, running down, and I had a blindside hit on him. And I'll never forget, I hit him so hard, and his face and his helmet was like, oh shit, like, I got hit. And I think that kind of like made him a better player, because now he like looked for people coming blindside or whatever. And then ultimately it sucks because we all knew Zig was good. He just didn't understand the defensive schemes yet. It's so hard to learn that at that age. We all knew he could play, and it was like, just put him in somewhere. Like, don't give him responsibility, just go. And I feel like after an injury happened in the Utah game, we had nobody else. Well, we did, but they weren't as talented as Ziggy, and they were like, we got to play Ziggy, and they finally put him in, and the rest is history, and ended up getting drafted 5th overall, which is fucking crazy. Like, to get 5th overall of not for basically playing football for really 1 year, not even 1/4 years, like 3/4 of a year is absolutely insane.
No, that's really funny, man. Well, tell us a little bit about your draft day. Like, what was that like? Because you didn't really know exactly where you were going to go, but you knew it was, first, second round, so late first, early second.
Since we're in the combine, it's nuts. Like, going through those meetings, I'll never forget.
What was the weirdest question you got asked?
The weirdest,
what's like some of the questions?
The Browns asked the weirdest damn questions. They were asking like, do you like a cat or a dog, or like shit like that? Are you being serious? Like, weird. They had like 100 questions, and they gave you like a time to do it in. It was absolutely weird. The most intense one was the Saints at the time with Sean Payton. Rob Ryan was in there, and then another little midget guy was in there, and they had all the lights off. Everybody was sitting, and then they basically had like one light on the seat where the guy was sitting at, far as like as a player getting interviewed, and they basically were. One guy was cussing at you, and another guy was going through the plays, and you had to remember all the plays while another guy was trying to like talk shit, like you're not gonna remember these plays, like you're not. You're gonna have grown men beating your ass, like, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? Like, trying to look here, and this guy's talking trash. And then they flip over the page, and you gotta write all the plays out, like the 4 plays they showed and describing it. And I felt like I did a good job, but my shit was all like nervous, like it looked like scribbles on the page.
Well, that's interesting. That's fascinating. Yeah. That's what they did. I remember one day when we were at the house. It was before the Texas game, your senior year, and you probably don't even remember this, but we didn't talk football much. We would talk about life and girls or whatever else it was at the time. But and I remember one time I just asked you. I was like, "So what's the deal with Texas?" And you're like, "Oh, we're gonna win." And I was like, "Oh, well, how's that?" And you said, check this out, and you spent the next half hour, you knew every formation they had and every play they ran out of every formation. And my chin just like hit the floor. I'm like, because you think football players are just kind of out there running around. People associate.
I'm trying to break that barrier.
Well, I knew you weren't like, I just, we talked enough other things, but like that was the day I was like, oh wow, he's a genius. Like he actually knows all, like you knew every play they had from every formation. And so it was just fascinated me when I had that conversation.
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying to break that mold of, kind of like LeBron, a little bit of the shut up and dribble comment that lady had. I'm kind of trying to break the mold of football players aren't dumb.
Well, we'll get in a little, because you do a lot of business and charity and things. We'll dive into that a little bit. So go back to so when you got drafted by the Lions, how was that?
Yeah, getting drafted by the Lions was... Honestly, I was pissed. I was happy I got drafted, but I was pissed because they ran a 4-3 defense and I didn't fit in that scheme. And then... I
remember before the draft you told me the one thing that you wanted was a warm place.
And Detroit. But I was happy because Detroit had a dome, so I was okay, I'll take that, Not playing cold as hell. But... I was actually mad, but I was happy I was playing with Ziggy, and I was also happy I'm finally making money. That was really, it was a bittersweet day, I would say. And then getting there was a struggle. Like, I started off really good. I got hurt in rookie mini camp, which is like the first basic thing you do. And the trainers didn't believe me. Like, I kept saying, like, this don't feel good. I worked out a little bit during the summer when we had off. I get back to fall camp. I was hurt. I'll never forget this part. Washington game, preseason. It was a toss play to my right, and I made that play 100 out of 100, and I was slow and took a horrible angle, and my back gave out, and I wasn't right. And so finally, I went in, and I swear it was the man upstairs looking out. I went in to the trainer and said, what's a hernia? I'm like, what the hell? Like, never even heard of a hernia. I've never, I don't even know what that is. And I said it, and they're like, okay, let's check it out. And, they found a little, like a bump or whatever. And I go get an ultrasound. They say, oh, you have a tear, whatever, in your core muscle. They're calling it a core muscle tear now, not so much a sports hernia. So then I go to Philly and get two. I'm there all day. I ended up getting 2 MRIs because after the first one, they're like, you got to tear here, 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 and here. So I ended up having 5 tears from 1 tear. So I was basically, my intestines were like falling out, and I had a hip labrum tear. So I ended up getting half the surgery done. Sitting out the first 8 games, and then playing on a hip tear the rest of the year, and then after that season finished up getting another surgery, and then I had in January my second year, then in May, so I only recovered 3 months, and the Lions were feeling pressure, I think, and so they sped me up. I was full go after a hip labrum tear, reconstructive or whatever, and was trying to play full speed in OTAs, and ended up finally coming back, but things weren't good again, and I had 2 bulging discs in my back, and another, like a ball over my left butt cheek nerve or something like that was shutting it off, and they threatened to put me on IR again. And then I met why I live in California now, my trainer.
Okay.
I call him he's another god.
What's his name? His
name's Dave Daglow, Dag Athletics. He's a nerdy guy, geeky, funky guy, but I love him like he's family. He saved my career. I give him all the credit of why I stay healthy now. I know I had an injury this last season. It was because because usually he comes during the season, but this time he couldn't because he's trying to get Djokovic fixed, the tennis player. So he's actually coming here. Djokovic, I'm going to beat his ass in tennis, so I'm excited about that.
That's cool.
So
did you have a similar situation, like, because Tom Brady had his own guy? Was there a lot of guys in the NFL that kind of have their guy?
Yeah,
that became a big controversy.
I think that's starting to be a bigger problem because, you have the team that has their strength guys, and then you have players that all have their individual trainers, and it's kind of this battle of what's going back and forth. And I think it's going to be a bigger problem going forward because it's like I'm my own entity. I'm going to try to stay healthy my own way so I can perform for the best of my abilities for you, because you pay me for my skills.
Well, yeah, you're not getting what you wanted from Detroit doctors, for example.
No, and that was my problem. I was like, they had me doing stuff that wasn't helping. I mean, they basically didn't know what was wrong with me after I told them for a year that I was hurt.
So when this year with the Patriots, when they made Tom Brady's guy leave, did they make your guy, like, was that as big of a story as it was made out to be, or what was in the locker room? Was that like a real thing?
Not really. I mean, because guys were still going to him. Like, it was just. It just made news.
They just wanted something to talk
about. That's a story, so they're gonna with the Patriots, because nothing ever happens with the Patriots. So it's like, let's stir this thing up, and then to do it right before the playoffs, like, players give a shit. That comes out like that doesn't. It's not gonna bother us, especially with somebody who's as not only talented as Tom, but he's been in the business for so long. Like, it's not gonna affect him or anybody else in that building. Like, Bill's been in this thing for a minute, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes that that people say in the media that think it's gonna affect players, but players don't give a shit.
Yeah,
some do actually, but majority players in the
most of those stories you hear about in the news blown out of proportion.
Yes,
because you had one right the day of the Super Bowl too, right? Like, was that as blown out of proportion, or was that?
Yes, I agree. Yes. Yeah, I think a lot of stories are blown out of proportion, and then I think it's all about hits now. And what pisses me off is media don't ever get in trouble, like, for saying something that's not true or having a story come out that's totally false.
Yeah, they used to take pride in getting the story right. Now it's like they take pride in getting the most likes and hits.
Exactly. It's disappointing, but shout out to all the real ones out there.
Well, so let's go back to Detroit, though, because, I mean, that was a tough time.
Yeah, it was.
I came out a few times, and I know it was frustrating for you. You had a lot of support with your wife and your family, but
she's why I made it through. Well, I almost retired.
Tell us a little bit about, like, when you were down and how you came out of that, man.
For me, I've always been the best at, like, the sports that I did, or if I wasn't the best, I was competing to be the best in football, basketball, baseball, all the sports that I did. And for the first time in my life, I was struggling playing the sport I loved, and it was physical, and I've never had that before. A little bit of mental, which is fine. You can always get better by studying and watching film, but this was physical. Like, the first time in my mind where I was like, shit, like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I can't play. And that broke me down to where I was not human for the 2 years I was there. Like, I hated going to work. Like, I hated waking up and feeling helpless, basically. But I always said my prayers. So I believe in prayer, like, to the max. I leaned on my loved one, my wife. She's a beast. She would kick my ass, like, stop being a pussy, like, get up and go to work. And then 3, I just have this drive that I feel like I compare it to Michael Jordan, maybe not into that degree of my level of play being there, but that's my mindset. Like, I grew up studying him, and maybe not off the field because I don't agree what he does off the field.
Minus the gambling.
Yeah,
exactly. Times in the casino.
Yeah, don't want to hit $1 million away like in 10 minutes, but his mindset on the court to that just changed into just a different animal. I've always taken pride in that, and those were the 3 things that did not leave me, and that's kind of what got me out of those 3 things, and I really leaned heavy on all 3 of those, and I finally was getting some playing time in Detroit, and I felt like I was getting better, and a lot of people don't know how hard it is to switch a position at the highest level of football, and they have no patience, especially with a new coach, new turnover, like, you better play well or the next one. And I felt like I was a project because here I played 3-4 going to a 4-3, and they didn't have time for that. And
well, in Detroit, fans and media were pretty tough on you.
Oh yeah, they hate me, and I hate them, so we're good. I have love for the real fans, that, like, real Lion fans that are still my fans, but majority of them hated me because they felt like I sucked. But I put more of the blame on the coaches than anything, because they didn't put me in the right places.
Well, you were literally just had everything going against you.
For sure. And I'm going to take credit too. Like, I wasn't a grown-up professional doing all the things I could as well. So I wouldn't say it was just, I blame the coaches, because I take credit too. Like, I sucked. Like, that's plain and simple. And I wasn't ready for that moment at that time.
Nice. So then from there, I mean, you kind of caught you kind of hit the lottery, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about
the lottery twice. I mean, getting drafted is literally like hitting the lottery.
For sure. And then you get traded mid-season.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing had gone right as far as injuries and everything else we just talked about. And then all of a sudden you get a call. Tell us about the day you got traded to the Patriots.
Well, that was crazy. It was October 25th at 1 o'clock. Definitely going to remember that day forever. And I was actually we're going to the hospital for my wife. She was having some stuff go on, and so it was kind of nerve-wracking. We were getting test results from some stuff and that she was going through, and I get a phone call from the GM, and he was like, "Hey, Kyle, this is Bob Quinn. I just wanted to call you and let you know you've been traded to the Patriots." Or traded, and I was like, okay. He didn't tell me where. He was like, just wanted to say thank you to for the last 2.5 years that you gave to Detroit and the team, but we decided to move on. And I was like, so where did I get traded to? And he was like, to the Patriots. And I was like, what? And he's like, thanks so much and good luck. Click. That was it. And I'm sitting there, my wife's looking, I'm on the bed, like, kind of slouched over, like, my wife looks at me, and I was like, I just got traded to the fucking Patriots. She was like, she started going crazy, like it was like an answer to her prayers, like she was going nuts, and I was kind of sitting there like, man, fuck Detroit, they traded me. I was pissed, like, because I felt I was just getting over that hump. I was gaining confidence. I was starting, like I was playing, like I wasn't playing like like the best, but I wasn't playing the worst. Like I was finally starting to play and enjoy the game again. And now I'm going to the Patriots, where I know they have Rob Ninkovich, Jamie Collins, Dante Hightower. I was like, oh, cool, like back to the bench I go, you know. And so ended up doing that, and then going to the doctor's office and going through that process, like real life shit, like people don't know that goes on. Like,
well, that affects your playing game too. When you
I mean, we just have, people don't realize how much shit goes behind like doors that you don't see, but for another day, it's like another day for me. And so, you know, I'm at the hospital and we're going through this whole thing, and my phone blows up because it broke on Sports Center, and then people are texting me. Zig calls me pissed, like, hello, he calls me mad, like, saying, like, you were just starting to play good. I don't know why, what they were thinking, why, like, you're finally catching your wind or whatever, and, you know, it's cool, whatever. So then I end up leaving that night, and guess who's on my flight getting there? Mitt Romney. Oh, I can't say it, but I have a secret. One of these days I'm gonna show him, because I'm really good friends with good friends with Tag and Matt Romney, and I have like a secret that I took a picture of Mitt Romney, so I can't release it or say it yet, but I promise one of these days everyone's gonna laugh. But we took a nice picture, and then I took a picture of him later doing something, and it's just funny. And you know, just talking to him kind of gave me like this new life, like, because here he is, you know, he had some ups and downs. Yeah, exactly. Moment, just right? You know, not winning the presidency, just chit chat. He's also, you know, he's Mormon, so it's cool just getting another solid take from somebody like him who doesn't give a damn about football. Is just a person that loves life and loves his family, and what a great perspective to listen to him real quick and chat it up. And so I get there, we drive, you know, I land in Providence, then we drive, so it's about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night at that time, and I have to get up at 5 the next morning. So I'm up at 5, see the doctors, and then I go right into the playbook with the coach from like 7 till about 8, going over, you know, plays and stuff. And then I'm in the swing of things, like I've been there the whole time, you know, get it to practice. We're in full pads, and they throw me out there like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out there with Hightower, and everybody's looking at me like, what the hell is he already doing out here? And I don't say anything except I'm like, hi, like, what do I do?
You're like a freshman in college.
Exactly. And you know, Hightower, that's my guy. He's from Nashville, so he's country as shit.
I didn't realize that. That's funny.
He has this deep voice. He's like, get your ass over there. You're lined up in my spot. And so I'm like, oh shit, like, go to the next spot. And this is when I got introduced to Tom. I'm one-on-one with James White, and he runs a wheel route. And I'm in probably phenomenal coverage, like tip-top coverage. Like, he ain't throwing that shit to me. Next thing you know, everyone says ball, and James' eyes get lit up, and I'm like, oh shit, it's coming my way. And James puts his hands out, and I put my hand in, and I hear the ball whiz right by my damn head into James White's hands, and the offense goes crazy, and I try to rip the ball out, and I look back, and Tom just nods his head like, yeah. And I was like, flip him off, like, man, forget you. But that was when I got introduced to Tom Brady on how good he was, that's for sure.
So tell us a little bit about your relationship with Brady, and
yeah.
Something, you got that funny story or something that you can share?
Well, the first day I met Tom, this is just who he is as a person, and I get done washing my hands after going to the restroom, and I'm walking out or whatever, and he stops. He's like, hey Kyle, how you doing? My name's Tom Brady. Like, what? Like, I know who the fuck you are, Tom Brady. Like, shake my hand, like, nice to meet you, Tom, you know?
Yeah.
And that right there is who he is as a person. Like, he doesn't think he's better than anyone except when he gets in between the lines of a football field. Like, he takes care, he's the best professional as far as like taking care of his body, and you know, he doesn't eat hardly anything bad. Like, I make fun of him if I see him snake like a French fry or whatever.
Does he direct a lot of you guys with like kind of as a mentor just because he's been around for so long, or how does he treat the other players on the team that way?
I think he's more obviously on the offensive side, so I don't get to see that as much. But
sure,
I feel like just his actions of how he handles himself speak louder than what he says anytime.
Yeah. And
his regiment of his daily training. I mean, walking in through the hall, and I'm like, one day I was like, Tom, how many times do you think you walked this? You know, because you have to walk it through Gillette to the practice fields and back after practice, and he's been doing it now for almost 20 years. So just imagine all those times. A lot of walks. And it's crazy how many times he's made that walk, and we never got to the bottom, but it was just kind of mind-blowing, just little things like that. And you know, it's fun. He like talks trash like he's 21. Like, he'll let you know, like, and he won't stop. Like, if he says like you're it today, like he's coming at you that day.
Has he picked on you before?
Oh yeah, him and Gronk have. Robbie G, I love Robbie G.
How's Gronk? How's he as a teammate?
Robbie G, he is the man. I love Robbie G. He is a comedian.
Yeah,
really. Just a good, funny character. He's crazy though. Can't hang out with him outside the building.
Your wife doesn't let you hang out.
Nah, we good. It stopped at the building.
All right, and I got to ask one more person, Belichick. Give me your relationship with Belichick, and give me who is he really?
Yeah, coolest thing for me about Bill Belichick is I don't know if he necessarily likes me, but I know for a fact he respects me, because the first day. I thought I was going to have like a meeting with him when I got there, but it wasn't like he didn't ever talk to me or anything. It was like I've been there my whole career. Like, I think it was during a punt drill, I was like watching how they do the punt or whatever. He came up to me like swinging his damn whistle like he always does, and he just said to me, he looked at me and he's like, I always get my guys, and then walked away. And at that moment, I was like, you know what, like,
that's awesome.
To have like one of the greatest coach in football say that to me, like, that gave me confidence, and you know, I'll always remember that, because it wasn't necessarily like he was telling me like, you know, it was just like I always get my guys.
Some coaches, it probably takes them years to install that confidence that he gave you with literally 6 words. You know,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
what a cool moment.
It was. I'll definitely have that forever, and it was cool. But my funniest story about Bill is he cusses. He don't care who you are. He don't care if you're Tom, Julian, Gronk, McCourty, Hightower. He's gonna cuss you out. Like 8 o'clock every morning, you know somebody's getting cussed out for something. Like, it doesn't matter. It could be the other team. Like, look at these assholes. Like something like that. But so we're at practice doing a punt block drill, and it's me, Rob Ninkovich, Shea McClellan, and Coney Ely. This is during spring ball, and another person, and it's DeMarcus, who's a coach, and Bill, and we're going through like the steps and, you know, just the fundamentals of blocking a punt. And Coney Ely, little background story, he's kind of an airhead. Like, he's cool, but he's an idiot.
Okay.
Good player, like, but is more of a player that doesn't read shit, just goes.
He just goes athleticism.
Exactly. And so he's not doing these fundamentals very good with DeMarcus, and Bill's watching, and he's like, Tony, get your ass up there and do it again. And so Bill has the ball, and it's raining. That's another thing. It's raining, and so he's like, all right, come, Tony, like try to come like full speed. And so he comes full speed, and Bill puts his foot out and is like punting the ball, and punts the ball, and he misses, and Coney hits his leg and Bill does like this ballerina like in rain like as he's saying what the fuck like on one leg, and I lost it. All of us, Rob was on the ground laughing, Shay was on my back laughing. It was the funniest, and the thing is Bill was like cool, calm, collected, wasn't like saying it like mean, just said like what the fuck, like get back up and do it again because he did it wrong.
Yeah, sure.
And that to me like was like, damn, like he's so like locked in on every rep, like it's done the right proper way, like he's old school. But that was just funny because he about died.
Dude, that's hilarious. That's a great story. That's a great story. So take us to last year's Super Bowl. I had the chance to come watch that.
And
that was
sneak onto the field.
I did sneak onto the field. Well, I had a family pass, but it wasn't allowed to get me on the field. But it was funny because they had like 3 levels of security after the game. Well, and we didn't know if you were going to win, so we were staying in our seat.
That shit was crazy.
That was crazy. And but it was funny. So like we get first level, they let me pass. Second level, the third guy's like, "Oh no, that pass isn't for here." And I just go, You want me to call my brother right now and tell him that you're not letting me on the field?" Another guy looks at him and goes, "Just let him go."
That's awesome.
So for a moment there, I had to pretend I was your brother.
That's okay. I have a white brother.
It's true. Yeah. That works out fine. No, that was funny because I was sitting there we like ran on the field, me and Travis Prince, and we like saw Steve Young. We're like, "Oh, let's get a picture of Steve Young real quick. That's cool." And all of a sudden, you jump on my back. I got a picture of you like literally jumping on. I love it, dude.
That was fun.
So tell us about that as the comeback started happening. Like, what was it like down there, and what was it like actually being a big part of it?
Yeah, I mean, even throughout the whole year, like finally playing more starting games for the Patriots and being a contributor and playing, I was like basically the 6th man almost. I started some games when players were hurt, and then I also came in the rotation and played in all like critical scenarios. And so I took pride in that role, and I played that to the max and took advantage. And playing and being a part of the Super Bowl, and is like a dream come true. And to be part of one of the greatest games ever played is
probably the greatest game ever played.
Especially comeback wise was nuts. And being 28-3 and not blinking, not worrying. Was the team really as calm as like you hear? Yes, like there was no speech in the locker room. Julian was saying, "Oh, this is gonna be like," he was going on he was riding his bike like he always does, talking because he's got little man syndrome. And then another guy, Duran, was talking, and those two just were talking, and we met and fixed what we needed to fix, and then one play at a time after that, and the rest was kind of history after that.
So what did you feel? I mean, because growing up, being a football player, that's the apex, that's the dream, is to win the Super Bowl. What was it like in that moment?
Words can't describe, because for me, it was more just, it wasn't about me. It was about all the people that were behind me on my journey, for people that can't, that have autism that I'm family with, or adoption, foster care, friends like you, or all sorts of people that were that I was playing with them on my shoulders and representing them. It was all for that. And so it's kind of hard to explain what that moment felt like, but it was just, I felt all the people that were rooting for me, fans, a simple smile of like satisfaction. And to me, like that, you can't describe that.
Well, dude, I can get choked up just thinking about it, because your struggle kind of led to it.
Exactly.
It's like any good movie, you have such a struggle, and we were just like, dang, like we wanted you to do good so bad, like one thing after another. So like to see it lead to that was, dude, it was just such a cool experience for all of us. It was really fun.
Yeah, so I'm saying but it's so hard to explain, because you're playing not just for yourself, you're playing for everyone you've come in contact with and represent.
Yeah. Well, so this year you guys lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on that for a second. What was that like? I mean, it was the other end of the coin.
Well, there was good things this year. I ended up signing, and I'm staying with the Patriots.
You get 2 more years.
Yeah, 2 more years. So that was a huge blessing and a sign of them liking me and their trust in what they see in me and the potential that I have. So I felt like doing that after this year was huge for me, and playing at a high level. You know, I was playing, for me personally, I felt like I was playing at a very high level, and then until I got a little bump in the road, injury, and then, you know, that was a grind too. That was a setback. I watched my team beat the Steelers, which was remarkable. That was sick. And just, you know, the grind of from 6 a.m. to 6 at night for 6 weeks straight to get healthy again. It sucked, but it was worth it to play in the playoffs. There's nothing like the playoffs. And
Jacksonville, they were talking a lot of trash.
they were. They were talking a lot of trash, and they can't back it up. And it's funny because Patriots, we've been in every situation you can think of. So when teams are new and, you know, you can see their confidence and they're winning, and you can tell when they're getting nervous, and
you actually watch it happen.
They're getting tight.
Can you tell that as a
player? Yeah.
You can see them tightening up.
They can say whatever they want, but I know I've been in the worst situation, and you've never experienced what's next, and I have, and I know it's a 60-minute game, and so anything can happen. So you can't be too high, and you can't be too low. You got to be right in the middle. And so the Eagles, it almost happened to the Eagles too. They were on a real high wave, and we came back, and it was real close, but we let that door.
Well, it's like, I think Tom or Bill, one of them said, is like they had one really well-timed play. Because they weren't stopping you guys.
No,
you would have gone right back down.
Exactly. They had one more play than we did. I mean, we didn't have really any plays. They just had one more better than we. And, you know, I'm still disappointed in that performance, and we're going to learn from that, because what people don't know, a lot of the players in that game are with us again. I mean, we don't lose very many players.
What's the locker room like after losing the Super Bowl?
Horrible. It's like losing a family member.
Really?
Because you never know if you're going to get back. 2, some careers are over for people. 3, you're never going to play with the same group of guys. You know, trades are going to happen. You know, people are going to either be asked to take pay cuts and get cut, and so, you know, so forth. So it's never going to be the same after that. And it sucks. I'm still bitter about it. I bring it up every day, one time a day to either.
I didn't dare text you for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's like, love you, man.
Yeah,
Talk to me when you're ready.
It sucks, but it's. How many people can say they've been to 2 Super Bowls?
Well, I was going to say, did it help soften the blow, the fact that you won the year before? Because, I mean, that has to help a little bit, right?
I mean, not help, but I do have a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
So anyone can say whatever you want. I'm still a champ.
Super Bowl
champion. What I mean?
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
That's sick.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so another thing I want to touch on real quick here with you. We got you here. Well, first off, you're terrible at fantasy football. I'm just going to let everybody know this year. Actually, this year you had a good team, though.
I did.
The first year we did it, you were drafting, I was like, has this guy ever played football before? And then this year you had all the right guys. You ended up taking 2nd or 3rd this year, I think, in the league. But
I took 3rd.
At 3rd, okay. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
No, it's kind of. No one gives a damn about 3rd place.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, well, I want to talk about when you were at BYU, because you kind of were going through this time where you were all over the place and you were just kind of trying to figure out life in general. You're a college kid. And then I noticed when you met Marissa, you actually met her. Well, you met her and then you got reconvened up at I Did It, which is kind of cool because a lot of people don't know about you. You do a lot of charity stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell a story real quick and brag on you for a second. Cause, I got a call when you were at BYU when we were living together, and a buddy of mine knew we were close friends, and he said, hey, I've got this this lady that works for me, and her little daughter broke her leg, and they had to reset her femur, and she was laid down for 9 months, a girl in high school, and and it grew back wrong, and they had to break it again, and she was going to miss another year of high school, 9 more months laid up. And he goes, she's a diehard BYU fan. Her favorite player ever is Kyle Van Noy, and I know you're friends with him. Can you get him to just hold up a sign that says "Get well soon"? Mm-hmm. And I called you, and I asked you if that was okay, and you said, "Dude, where does she live?" And she lived down Eagle Mountain, which is pretty far. It's like an hour from my house. And you're like, "Let's go." And we went out there, and I mean, you spent 2 hours. I think Rich Wilson and JD Falls came with us, and I mean the whole family's bawling in tears. I'm over in the corner bawling in tears, but it was pretty awesome, man. And you always had that side. I think a lot of people, because at BYU you definitely kept a tight circle.
Oh yeah,
because people were kind of coming at you though, like always trying to get you in trouble and things, And
I did keep a tight circle.
But that side of
a lot of people don't know that either. Like I'm very private. My wife and I are private, and that's what I love about our relationship. And nothing comes in our circle, and I've always took pride in that. But more and more, I kind of want to show people our story a little bit, because we, also being in the LDS religion, there's that side of it, but also being in the NFL, there's another side of it. And there's also we're biracial. I'm different color. She's white. People look at it differently. There's all sorts of stuff. So we're trying to share our experiences more and just be more open about some certain situations.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the podcast, because I know you use such a different way than maybe a lot of people do. And but I understood at BYU, you just you were guard, you were a kid, you didn't know who to trust or whatever else. And then those were the things that you were doing. I mean, you did several things like that for me. I could tell 4 or 5 more of those kind of stories. But that's to me, that was at the core. You're this super charitable guy, and you've done a lot of charity stuff now. But you actually met your wife because of that charity in a way.
I did.
Met back up with her. Tell us a little about it, because I asked you to. I didn't know you that well. If you remember when we first met, you didn't really care for me right away.
I think it was at a church we met.
Well, we were at
first time basketball.
It was BYU was playing Marquette in the NCAA tournament, and there was a party that.
Are you sure that was not the second?
That might have been the second time. I don't remember the first time.
I felt like the first time was at a basketball. At basketball church, we were just playing hoops or whatever.
Okay.
And you were there, and Mall Cop was there. My friend Cody Harris. Shout out to the Spanish Fork Police.
Dude, that's funny.
And a couple other people were there playing basketball. I think that was the first.
Got it.
And you were bugging the shit out of me.
Yeah, well, people tell me Kyle doesn't like you.
But that's just how it works sometimes.
Yeah, right. But we got to know each other.
Yeah.
Well, I asked you to be a part of the charity date auction. I was doing a date auction basically to raise money for charity for Sub for Santa, and you were all about it. You're like, yeah. And then Marissa, your wife, at the time, she was Miss Utah, and so I asked her to be a part of it. And then tell us a little bit about that. And I want you to tell a little bit about your story, your wife, because I watched you change as you met her.
Yeah.
And I know how big of a part of your life she's been. So
yeah, Marissa is probably she is the best thing that's happened to me. And we actually met when she was 18 and I was 19, and we hung out for a while then. And I kind of tried to run away because I knew I loved this girl, but I was way too young. And then we didn't talk for a little bit, and then we met at the date auction, and I found out she was going. I didn't want to go anymore. I almost called you and said, nah, I ain't going anymore, to avoid her. But then, we ended up going. I ended up going, and she did too. And I was, and there's a picture. There's a picture of it the other day, and she's on one side, and I'm on the other, barely sticking my head out, and just because I didn't want to be there at all. And then ended up bumping her because you have that VIP area.
VIP area.
I was walking because it was my turn, and we actually bumped into each other, and I was like, I gotta talk to her now. And the first thing I said to her was, I miss you, type of deal. And she was like, I hate you. I wanted to punch. Oh, my bad. I wanted to punch you. And
you said I miss you. That was the first.
Yeah, that was the first thing I said, and I did, because she's an amazing human being. And ever since then, we just worked on our relationship and ended up getting married, I want to say the following year.
Yeah, well, I remember sitting in that VIP area, and there was a bunch of windows, and the event hadn't ended yet, and I see you and her like leaving, and you like look at me, and you gave me this like fist pump kind of thing, like thanks my man.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. Well, and so you made a lot of switches though. Like the second you met her, I remember you changed your phone number. I mean, you really dove all in.
I did.
Committed to her.
I did. I mean,
you just knew.
I knew that I needed to get my shit together in order to, you know, show her I was serious and not a little boy.
Yeah, maybe I need you to mentor me again, because that's been my that whole focus thing has always been my.
No, it's okay. I mean, I think sometimes we, as men, we try to make things more difficult than it really is, and it could be right in front of you, and you're looking too far down the road.
That's good. Well, you do have a phenomenal relationship. How do you guys maintain that passion and that great relationship? What's some things that you guys have focused on?
I think one thing that we focus on is we're best friends. Like, I don't want to hang out with anybody else but her all the time. But we're also independent, so it's good to, you know, she works and does her thing and I do my thing. Two, we always, doesn't matter if we get in an argument, doesn't matter about anything, we always sleep in the same bed. And that makes you deal with things that you don't normally want to deal with, like things that are discussions, like arguments and stuff. And then, you know, three, we always, I mean, there's some, I could go on, there's a list. She's like awesome. She's selfless. I'm hard-headed, like all these things. She's great. And, you know, we always put the man upstairs too. Like we always put him first. And I could go down the line with so many more things. I can't name just one thing. But we always have fun in our relationship.
Well, and you guys do a lot of things together with charity now and stuff too. Tell us a little bit about that, because this last year you had something kind of go viral a little bit. You've been really getting into the adoption thing, being adopted yourself.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, and kind of how was that? Like growing up, you knew you were adopted, obviously. And,
yes.
But by the way, your parents and family is like my favorite in the world. I love them.
Good. So. They're good people. So we started 4 years ago now, the Vanoy Valor Foundation, and if anyone wants to help, they can go to vanoyvalorfoundation.org.
We'll put a link to the pages so people can go to that.
That'd be awesome. And we basically help anybody through that with adoption or adopted kids. We help with foster care, and we help with struggling youth and communities, and we try to armor them with success in whatever that is they want or need.
So is that why you've been a lot more open with your own story of like you were adopted?
Like,
you were adopted as a baby, right?
Yeah, like I've been able to talk to more people about the, you know, how it is, you know, with parents that I genetically think differently than my parents do and stuff like that, like, or like a connection thing where my dad loves fishing and I actually hate fishing, but, you know, just coming to an agreement that I go every once in a while and stuff like that, and things like that, as well as, you know, hanging out. And I hung out in the wrong part of town in Reno, and so I'm able to connect with people that are struggling, because I was a troublemaker and I got kind of kicked out of the house a little bit, so I hung out in places and been around things that you weren't normally supposed to be around, and so I'm able to connect with kids such as that to help them to see a bigger picture in life, to, you know, not just to have a plan A, like let's have a plan A, B, and C. And I think, you know, going back to Brigham, you know, this is off topic, this is what bugs me the worst about Brigham is you got too many people that have plan A, B, and C, and not enough people that just have a plan A. And And what I mean by that is we don't have enough people that is the only way they can go and make a living in life. Or I shouldn't say that because that's not true, but like,
you saying there's a lot of opportunity that they don't even
appreciate,
like, kind of?
You know, a lot of people go, they're A, mission, B, marriage, 3, their parents, you know, they're wealthy and their parents take care of them, or another plan is they have a backup plan. You know what I mean? They don't have that. For some people like myself, I wouldn't have gone to college if I didn't have a scholarship. Like, that was out of the question. I'm not asking mom and dad to help me through school. That wasn't going to happen. My brother ended up, same thing with him. Like, he went to BYU Idaho for a year, but those were all on college student loans or whatever. So after his mission, he came home and was doing basketball drills or whatever on video to get an offer, and he ended up going to Virginia SVU on a scholarship and paying for school. So that wasn't really, I mean, we weren't going to talk about it with my parents, and they'll probably never admit it, but we both know, like, that wasn't necessarily an option for us. So for me, that was like an option. Like, there was no other option besides football. Like, of course, I felt like I'm smart enough that if I put my mind to it, I have that mindset, like, I'm going to get it done. But when I'm a 19-year-old kid, like, that's my perspective now. But as a kid, that was plan A, and we don't have enough people that have that at Brigham.
So is that one? Yeah, it totally makes sense. So is that one of the things that you like about the Valor Foundation? You're kind of helping kids in the same situation?
I'm trying to help kids to not just have that plan A, like, that's good, but we also want to prepare you for B and C, like jobs, or, you know, and even simple stuff like it's crazy seeing some of the situations families are in and kids are in, and, you know, just giving them a coat, or just having but what benefits them the most is just time.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it is. Just taking time, because they see us and idolize football players, but if I can take 20 minutes to sit down and have a meal with them and talk with them about just bullshit, like just bullshitting or whatever, and it changes them and it changes me, I mean, that's what it's really all about. And I try to have, you know, the man upstairs always try to have him guide me on what to say and what to do.
Well, I had a couple of years ago, I went to a bunch of us, me, Travis, Johnny Jackson, a few other guys, went to an orphanage in Haiti.
Yeah.
And it was like, you just give the kids your time. Like, there's nothing else for us to give, but it's like, you know, people are like, I don't get it. Like, what do you go do to them? So you just give them your time. You just love them, you know. And so it's the same, like you said, and I think sometimes for an NFL player to give these kids their time, that might be the first time they've ever felt important enough that somebody of your stature would give them that love and that time in their lives. So very cool, man. Well, we'll definitely put some links on the podcast to that.
Sweet.
Dude, I appreciate you being here, man. This was a lot of fun, and always good to see you, bro.
Awesome.
All right, I love you, brother.
All right, love you too. Thanks.